Very good morning, Paul. So, we are going to discuss today, we are going to continue feminism, the topic of feminism and the central themes and second and third waves of feminism. If you have any questions while we are talking, while I'm talking, you can raise your hand or you can ask anytime. This must be the interaction session, right? So we discussed about feminism, how it was originated, uh, what is the basic uh, assumptions behind feminism as an ideology. Then what is the first wave feminism? Why they are named as feminist waves, right? We have already covered all these parts. Now we are going to talk about second wave feminism. Wait 1 minute. Yeah, then what was happened to persuade feminism? They aimed to achieve political and legal rights. Then 1893 onwards, from 1893, because New Zealand was the first country uh, which gave the universal suffrage or female voting rights in the first time in the world history in 1893. So then after other countries followed the New Zealand in 1920, USA by its 19th Amendment. Then the 1980s, UK uh, granted female voting rights, but until 1927, universal franchise was not granted in United Kingdom. Then 1927, people in the United Kingdom, UK especially, they achieved universal suffrage. Then after 3 years only, UK, British government granted a universal franchise to its very small colony, Sri Lanka. You know that history under the Donoughmore Commission, we have received universal franchise, right? Because at that time, British government was ruled by Labour Party government. Ramsay MacDonald was the prime minister. So then Dr. Sidney Webb, then Dr. Drummond Shears, the prominent Labour Party thinkers and leftist thinkers were there in the ministerial portfolio and uh, MP parliamentary portfolios, ministerial portfolios and parliamentary and portfolios. That's why we have received very easily the universal franchise, right? So then after many countries followed the same thing, they also granted a universal franchise of voting rights for women. Because of this practical situation, first wave feminism thought that they achieved their primary goal, what they aimed. They wanted to achieve uh, political rights and legal rights for the women, especially voting rights for the women. They thought that if they received voting right for female, then all the grievances with negative impacts on women will be disappeared because of their political rights. They thought in that way. But however, we know that those grievances, criminalization of women and all these things, victimization of women and all these things were not eradicated after they received political rights or voting rights and legal rights or and educational rights. So that's why in 1960, next generation, next wave emerged. It is called second wave feminism because feminist thinkers like Betty Friedan and others, Kate Millett and others, they thought that if they means the women received political and legal rights and education rights, their burdens are still exist. Women are still suffering. So that's why they focus their attention to discuss these issues, to analyze these issues, right? Especially Betty Friedan in 1963, she wrote a book under the name of The Feminine Mystique. The Feminine Mystique. That was the book name. In that book, she raised a question about women. According to Betty Friedan, female are suffering from what? There's a problem, but with no name. Women are suffering from a specific problem, but it cannot be identified uh, under a very clear name. So that's why she was writing the problem with no name in the book of Feminine Mystic, right? According to the second view feminist, women are continuously suffering. They are unhappy. They are in frustration. They are frustrated because of many reasons, especially when when they talk with the women and when they work with the women. So they understood the majority of them are not in a happy mood. They are unhappy. Uh, they are having a lot of burden. So majority of them are frustrated because of number of reasons. That's why they decided to write about this question under the name of the problem with no name. So experience as a result of being confined to the roles of housewife and mother. They found that all these grievances are concentrated on one point, particular reason. All these grievances are based on or focused on one or two reasons. They discovered those reasons as the limitation of women within a family work, being housewife and mother. They thought that being a housewife or, or and mother or hyphen mother, right? Or slash mother. Then they have a lot of work to do on behalf of their family and children, and also to the society, right? Because of that, women's role was was confined to the certain area, certain limitation. That limitation was the household, right? Then they understood that achieving political and legal rights had not solved the women's question because they are suffering, they are frustrated, they are unhappy. Now they have legal rights, they have educational rights, they can study, they can go up in the society while passing the exams. Then also they are having different positions in political and social life, and they can vote what they wish, right? According to their choice, they can select, they can elect, one or group of people or the particular political party, but still they are in unhappy mode. They are suffering internally. They are suffering. They are having so many questions, burden issues. Betty Friedan and other second wave feminists discovered that reasons were behind those grievances were the being a family housewife and the mother, according to them, right? Not according, not uh, not not about the me, right? I'm not thinking in that way. They thought in that way, right? Betty Friedan and second wave feminists, right? Is it clear? Can you understand? Any questions? Any comments? Any clarification? Any criticisms? What do you think, Shamila? Is it clear? Dulhani? No, any criticisms? Is it clear? Basically,
Yeah, sir. I think it's still have this situation in the society.
still.
I mean, women are always suffering, I think.
Yes. That's your opinion, right? Because you are, you know very well than me, right? Because you are having access to the girls and women society. So then you have a lot of experience, a lot of understanding about that, right? Yeah. Well, why do you think in that way? Can you elaborate with example or two?
In the society, so we can see there are a lot of popular people who can speak about feminism.
Ah, yes.
For example, the girl who act in Harry Potter, I don't remember her name.
Okay.
Hermione
Ah, yes. So then,
is very talking about feminism. But the thing is, uh, the traditionally all the things are going for making suffer women. I think they can't leave their work.
okay.
Yes, talking about feminism, we should respect women, so we should give uh,
Her.
legal cover for them. But uh, in the sexual side, I think they can't leave. Still, they can't leave that suffer.
Okay.
It's made
Yes,
by the
continue, please. Yes. Dulhani?
it's made by the world itself. I think it's made as a nature for it's too difficult to move on as a woman. I think it's
Oh, great.
can move on easily than women or anywhere.
Ah, yes. That's the situation now. So, being a woman, it is very difficult to survive in this society. That's what I think you want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, uh, sometimes it is very difficult to share many questions, many problems are there, right? No? So, especially in our traditional society, they expect girls should be like this, girls should wear like this, girls should laugh in like in this way. They can laugh making sound, right? The girls should laugh very smoothly. It's called smile. But male boys, they can laugh making sound. They can walk, they can run, anyhow they can walk in accordance with their choice. But the girls, they cannot walk in that way. They cannot wear whatever the clothes they choice, right? They, all these things are decided by the society, especially traditional society. Even in the modern society, there are many traditional practices, traditional ruins, right? That's what I think Dulhani want to share. Am I right?
Yes, if any girl want to in today's society, if any girl want to move on these traditions and the things, I think that girl should have a economically independent power. Otherwise,
Yes.
if she's a poor family, she can't do that.
That's the problem. She has to depend on someone, right? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, most probably in the young age, she has to depend on his her father, or sometimes elder sisters, or young elder brothers and younger brothers, or sometimes uncle, sometimes grandfather. When she grown up, she has to depend on uh, her husband, or sometimes elder son or younger son, right? She's not economically independent. Therefore, that's why she cannot take her own decisions. She cannot do whatever the lifestyle she wants to follow, right? So that's what Dulani wants to share. Very, very good point. Very highly appreciated idea, right? So, anything do you want to share, Dulani?
No, sir.
Okay. Then others, Sankalpani?
No, sir.
No, any idea?
No.
Rosan? Oh, today Rosan is there. Rosan, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is there anything to you add?
No, sir.
No, really?
Yeah.
Oh, then Sayu Kanchana?
No, sir.
Oh my God. So then Vinodhani,
Sir.
Saranga,
No, sir.
where is Shamila?
Sir?
Shamila is in here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Don't you have anything to share? Because you are representing different communities, right? A different part of the country and different communities. So you may have a lot of ideas, right? You can share your thoughts with us. Can you understand this thing? There are very basic things, right? First wave feminists, they targeted legal and political rights. When the Second World War, they, they achieved this target because women got universal franchise, or at least voting rights for female, right? But uh, second wave feminists discovered that Though they have legal, educational, and political rights, still women are suffering, especially when they are going to have the social life what they want, especially in marriage life. As Dullahan very correctly mentioned, sexual life, they cannot judge, they cannot select, they cannot live in their own way. All the rules are made by the society. Not they cannot. Most of the time, they cannot select their routes. Routes means the path they should go forward, right? So that's what we discuss in here. However, in 1970, another very prominent uh, feminist thinker, Kate Millett, wrote a book under the name of Sexual Politics. Then the Germany Gear in 1970, the female immunity. Kate Millett is very much famous and very much influential on this discussion because he expressed many scientific ideas to the development of second wave of feminism. We will discuss what she has wrote, right? Especially second wave feminists, they focused on personal, psychological, and sexual aspects of female oppression or suppression, right? Personal aspect, personal issues, psychological issues, sexual aspects, right? So sometimes in this material world means the world, we have members, they're following, they are running behind to achieve the material goals, what they want to achieve, material goals. Material means sometimes to buy a land, to buy a, to build a good house, modern house, to buy a car or vehicle or luxurious vehicle. They sometimes they want to send their children to the good school, especially in Sri Lankan context. They want to send their children to so-called popular school in urban areas, in Colombo and other urban centers, right? So then after, they want to give good education for them. Most probably, majority of them are not thinking about higher education. They want to send their children to good school. So that's my experience in our society. Then after, people or especially parents, they have material targets. Then they are collecting money and wealth for their children, especially for girls, for dowry. They are saying that I have 2 girls, I have 3 girls, I have a girl child. So that's why I want to work harder. Otherwise, when she get married, I will be a problem, right? Saying that kind of things, they are targeting a lot of things, material things. They're running behind the material targets. Because of that, they have to miss their life. So that's the most important part. Sometimes they have to earn a lot. Then they have to go abroad sometimes. Go to Israel and earn a lot of money. Go to Middle East and earn money. Sometimes they have to do a lot of legal and illegal things to collect money and wealth. while doing all these things, they are always busy and far away from home, far away from their family. So then the family members, especially women, they are suffering. They have many things. They have their own land. They have their own modern building, or I mean house. They have luxurious car. They have enough money to live without uh, suffering, right? But still, they're running behind those kind of material things. Then they are thinking that, so our house is very near to town. I want to buy a land in town for my daughter, for my son. So then I want to work hard again. I want to have a restless life for that, right? Have you watched the television ad in television? Then husband and wife is there. Husband and wife are there. So then she's doing online business about spicy, right? Spice business. So doing something, she got back pain, faint. So then husband is asking why you are working harder in this way. Now you got uh, injury from back pain. Why you are doing this kind of things? Then what she said, she showed their girl child while she was sleeping, saying that one day we want to uh, upgrade the situation of our child as a doctor. We want to see as a doctor. So that's why we want to work harder, right? So while saying so, many people are suffering, especially personal, psychological, sexual aspects are there. They don't have time to live together, to talk together, to sometimes to see the face of their children, because they are very busy, right? So the goal of second wave feminism was not merely political emancipation, but women's liberation. Therefore, second wave feminists thought that their aim was not about the emancipation of women, but their aim was to have liberation for the women, right? Then, because of aligned with these thoughts, there were a number of women's movement and women's organizations. They were working on to achieve these targets. However, they thought that this goal could not be achieved by political reforms or legal changes alone. Modern feminists urged that demanded radical and perhaps revolution and process of social change. Second wave feminists, they thought that just doing political reforms or legal changes are not enough to achieve their target, to achieve real liberation for the women. Because first wave feminists thought that just making a reform in legal system or political system, women can have voting right. But second wave feminists thought that that's not enough to have real uh, liberation, real freedom, real life, real social and personal life for the women if they want to have it, deep social changes or radical social political changes are needed. In the same way, they thought that it, it should be done as a process of social changes, not just uh, one or two incident, right? So that's how they thought second wave feminist, right? Any questions? What they focus? Personal, psychological, and sexual aspect of female oppression. They want to eradicate all these personal, psychological, sexual burdens which are inside the women, right? Any questions? Any questions? Can you understand this thing? What the
Yes.
what the thought of second wave feminist? Clear? The most important thing is you cannot learn these things by learn by heart, right? We have to understand these theoretical things with the practical examples, with our own understanding. We are in our society, we have many case studies, we have many experience, right? We have a lot of knowing about these things. So then we have to uh, combine these theoretical as things and practical scenario, practical situation. Then we can easily understand what we are learning. Always we have to combine these two together, right? Theory and practical uh, things, right? Then it is very easy to uh, understand and memorize. So just saying personal, political, and sexual aspects of female oppression was the uh, second wave aim of this second wave feminist. That's not enough, right? In 1960 and 1970, these thoughts were emerged. However, challenged the most basic assumption of conventional political thought. They challenged conventional, challenge to the conventional political thoughts. Feminism has succeeded in establishing gender and gender perspectives as important themes in a range of academic disciplines, in a range uh, consciousness about gender issues in public life in general, right? Betty Friedan founded the National Organization of Women and became its first president in 1966. Right, that was the second wave feminism. Then, what they focused on the issues of sexuality, challenging female heterosexuality, celebrating sexuality as a means of female empowerment. These issues were addressed by the second wave feminists. Then, after many think tanks, research institutions, universities, especially in European context, they started to talk about these issues. They started to teach gender and feminism in the universities and the departments. Many research organizations and think tanks, they started uh, uh, to do research on these issues, right? Then after, there are many thinkers in second wave feminist, Chela, Sandoval, Siamoga, right? There are many. However, when 1975, new change was occurred. What was that? United National Organization paid its attention to the issues of women. Therefore, UNO, United National Organization, declared 1975 as the year of International Women, International Women's Year in 1975. What was happened? United Nations Organization started to work on that issues. It means they wanted to eradicate those issues. That's why UNO entered to work on these problems. Then, since that year, in 1975, UNO declared March 8 in every year as the International Women's Day. From 1975, we are celebrating March 8 as the International Women's Day. Right? Further, UNO, United Nations Organization, officially declared 10 years from 1975 to 1985 under the name of the United Nations Decade for Women. The United Nations Decade for Women. Because of this reason, I mean UNO involvement, this discussion and understanding the researchers which are going on to handle this issue were gaining huge attention. Many international organizations, international governmental organizations, international non-governmental organizations, NGOs, civil organizations, civil societies, they started to focus their attention to work on these issues, right? So then they put their agendas while they are going to grant something to a particular country or organization, or while they are going to release their loan or something, or project loan or something, they put certain clause. You must complete these things, you must have attention on these issues, otherwise this loan investment loan installment will not be released. Otherwise, this grant will not be cannot be gained by you, because you have to complete certain stages of these things to eradicate issues on women. Especially they focus gender issues in development and development projects, right? I think you can understand what I mean. Is it clear? Then when 1975 UNA involved this issue, doing three things. What they did, they declared 1975 as the International Women's Year. From 1975, they started to celebrate every March 8th as the International Women's Day. Then 1975 to 1985, 10 years, they declared the United Nations Decade for Women. So then the other international and national, regional level organizations, governmental organizations, international governmental organizations, they have to focus, they have to follow certain rules and guidelines which are focused by the UNO involvement, right? Then after, the other countries or institutions, when they're going to have loan or uh, grant, a development grant from particular organization, maybe international NGO, maybe international governmental institution, then they have to fulfill certain component uh, of their projects or their work to eradicate, to minimize, at least minimize gender issues, because UNO and other organizations, they started to ask to complete certain things, otherwise we will not release your grant or loan facility. Then the grantors, beneficiaries, they have to do a lot of things on behalf of that. Right after that, yeah, there were many world level, I mean, UN Women's Conference in Mexico City in 1975, Copenhagen in 1980, then the Nairobi in 1985 again, then Beijing Conference. There are many conferences were held with the support of United Nations Organization. Right, then we have to focus our attention on central themes of feminism. We will continue next day the central themes. We already covered what the feminism, how it was originated, what are the perceptions or beliefs behind that. Then after, what's the first wave feminism? What is the second wave feminism? What is the third wave feminism? Third wave feminism, it started from 1975 to, I mean, with the involvement of UNO, right? Then after, what they focused, first wave feminists, they wanted to have legal and political rights for women. Second wave feminists, they basically focus their attention to the issues of personal, psychological, and sexual issues of women. Then the UNO involvement and the other international and regional organizations started to focus under the third wave feminist gender and development, gender and issues, right, in development field. So these are the three waves, and these are the objectives or targets want to achieve. Now there are central themes the feminists focused on. mm, the central themes feminists talked about, right? So then we have to go these topics step by step, slowly and slowly, with very clear understanding. So I would like to ask any questions from your side, any comments, arguments, because some students have lectures in 8 o'clock, right? Then it takes some time to have Zoom video also. So that's why uh, we will discuss these things in next day. Right? Thank you very much for everyone for your very enthusiastic contribution, and also I learned a lot of things from you. You gave very impressive ideas, right? Very thoughtful uh, talks. Anything from your side? Hello, Dulhani, Gamagi, Sairi. Hello, Vinatani. Shall we leave now? Sankalpani,
Yes, sir.
shall we leave now because some of our uh, students wants to have another class from 8
Oh,
onwards.
okay, sir. No matter.
Then Dulhani,
So,
shall we leave now? Then we will continue our discussion in next day. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. See you next class.